What is good, people? Dear Hyperpop is a story about our main protagonist. Go to watch the other videos if you don't know what I'm talking about. Basically, I'm making 15 comic stories. Sometimes I say 16 when it's really just 15. But I'm making 15 comic stories. And within those 15 stories, no, what I meant to say was I've talked about those 15 stories in some detail. Some plots are underdeveloped. I've been gatekeeping some of the power aspects for a later video. But overall, I've been talking about the comics. So go back, and there's only like one real main protagonist for the whole thing. So let's say his name together in 3, 2, 1. Topman. And Topman. And Topman. And we can't forget Topman. And we can't forget, our last main protagonist, Topman. No, I'm not joking. This story centers around 5 different Topmans instead of the usual 1 per story. They are quintuplets, okay? Similar to the last story in a way, we have 5 main protagonists. If you remember the last story, it was 4 of the harem girls and then 1 main character. But now, they're all brothers. They all have different personalities. And I want to say, my videos don't really get a lot of views. So if you do like what you see, share it, like it, otherwise it just won't get noticed. Anyway, let's talk about Dear Hip Hop. So we start out with the childhood. Scene. The parents of the 5 Topmans leave them in the care of their grandfather. As the 2 go off on their own, there is a light blue Topman. So basically the parents have just left the care. There's a light blue Topman. He's like the most mature. Okay? And he is the smartest. There is a red Topman. He is very heroic. Okay? He has hero attributes. There is a yellow Topman. This one is a con artist. Really good at gambling. Really good at playing dice, and he spends his time at the casinos. There is an orange Topman. There's an orange Topman. And this Topman has the superhuman strength that you would not believe. He can easily just move mountains and push cliffs with his pinkies. He's also not really smart. Okay? I'm not centered in the frame. And there is a dark blue Topman. And the dark blue Topman is kind of like a spacey type of guy. He's more like a, yo, what's up type of guy, He's go with the vibe, okay? He's vibey, he's spacey. You know the type I'm talking about. Okay. Although they weren't very popular at school, they became closer because of that and built on their brotherhood. However, one day, a looming puppeteer came to town. He was the size of the whole sky. The whole sky, and he would put down, his fingers, right? Anyone who touched his ropes were under his control. It was like a natural disaster, and unfortunately, the grandfather was hit and made to do his bidding. As the Topmans had to hide after the puppeteer moved away from its town, I'm sorry, I'm trying to do script and improvise, but basically, the puppeteer came to town like a natural disaster, like a hurricane, and put so many people under its control. The grandfather was hit, and then obviously became under the control, and eventually the puppet moved on, just cruising on through the town causing destruction. And while that was all happening, the young Topmans had to hide. Anyway, the people who were touched previously were like breaking stuff and stealing stuff, but now they're just kind of comatose, you know? They're just kind of, they're not doing anything. The whole town became like zombies. They're limp like corpses. But they are very much alive. The Topmans then make it their life goal to find that evil puppeteer and set free their grandfather. So they make a plan to go in 5 different directions to see who sees any information on the puppeteer guy. So they split off on their own adventures. The light blue Topman, as far as my plot goes, because I did do some plots, you can show off the plots, but eventually I only made so many. So the light blue Topman, he has to either solve a murder mystery right now, or he's fighting one of the old puppeteer pawns in the abandoned city up ahead. They basically live in like a cul-de-sac or something, you know? Next, the red Topman. The red Topman can be seen in a desert of some sort and finds himself in the company of a rogue tag team Although they may be chill, they are a lot more powerful than you may think. I think I tried to say may and might at the same time. The yellow Topman ends up at a casino. As I did say before, he's like a casino con man. So he's at the casino. Leave me alone, guys. Trying to like gamble with some of the most powerful people and play mind games to get what he wants, which is like information on the puppeteer. The orange Topman is in a cave area and is casually just throwing mountains. He actually gets to see one of his old school pals or school foes. And I have like this whole timeline where it all connects. The puppeteer, the boys being born, it all connects to a certain character hidden in the woods. Anyway, as for the dark blue Topman, he's found his way into space. He's in space, flirting with the queen of the moon and having to defend against the dark side invasion. So yeah, he's on the moon. They went off on land and he somehow ended up on the moon. He's just that type of guy and he's all chill about it. The way the story works is just like the others. But after a certain point, maybe at a climax, we switch POVs. So after like a big plot has happened in one of the boys' like timelines, like the light blue guy might find out the murderer and might be near to getting hit, and then we switch timelines. You know, the basic thing. I think the subject is called "and then" or something. It's like when you make it to the climax and you go to another plot point. Anyway, there are 5 times the plot points needed here, like breaking. Okay, 5 times. 5 times the plot points needed. Anyway, there's going to be like 5 times more plot points than the other stories. For example, breaking someone out of jail and fighting a whole nation, Luffy style. Gambling with death itself. The yellow Topman has daddy issues, which you may find him in a certain timeline. If you go down the right timeline, that is. Now, let's talk about characters, because I didn't really talk about characters in the last one. Just because I didn't really figure out a lot of the characters yet. But for this one, I've been thinking about it. So the light blue Topman, as mentioned before, is super smart. Like wow, Kazao, Galau, he's super smart with inventions. And he just has a different type of understanding of situations, which just makes him super smart. He does have a high horse though. He has a huge ego about him because he's so much smarter, which can lead to his downfall. He does have, proper manners and stuff like that. Okay, the red topman, however, from birth, is more of the hero type. He has the courage, but not the strength. He is just genuinely a good of heart person. He's the most emotionally mature out of his, brothers. And he stops his brothers from doing, ethically wrong actions. And he tries to take the moral high ground. He's basically the good boy, right? Anyway, the yellow topman, as mentioned before, is a con man, street and money smart. He's the second smartest in his family, often taking risky gambles to further any of his plans. He's fancy when he wants to be. He's ghetto when he wants to be. He's any style when he wants to be. He's a master of deception. He also has daddy issues, deep issues. Anyway, the orange topman is for sure the dumbest and the strongest. You know that typical trope like Ed from Ed, Ed and Eddie, the dumbest and the strongest. But he's also consistent. It doesn't matter if it rains, snows, if they're on Mars, if they're on Jupiter, if they're in a whole different dimension. He is a universal constant. Even like immortal beings in the series will be like, they'll see the orange topman and they'll be like, this guy is an immortal in a mortal body, because he is just that consistent. No matter where he is, he will be consistent. He is very cartoonish as well. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but like the style of the show is also going to be like some Ed, Ed and Eddie type stuff, like slapstick. Like not too much, obviously, because it's also shonen, but it's also a comedy, so yeah. Anyway, the dark blue topman is a guy whose mind is so out of the world. He's chilling with literal living galaxies. He's forgetful, he's aloof, without a worry in the world. He does, want his grandfather back, but he's just so chilled that even like through an important mission like this, he's still chilling. Bing chilling. Anyway, so far those are the plots so far. The grandfather character is mostly written out of this story. Yeah, the grandfather character is mostly written out. He's more like the goal that we're trying to save. Kind of like in the first story, but the grandfather in the first story has a lot more of an active role, while this grandfather is more like of the main goal. A very passive role as well. Anyway, it's like the quintessential quintuplets. I probably put an image of them here, but it's not really, because it's completely different genre. Anyway, I think I've grossed you out enough for today. Let's go into some of the last acts.